Today I want to show you how to make the sprouted buckwheat flour that I use. I know it's a little bit more effort than just using plain buckwheat and grinding it, but the benefits are worth it because if you have a sensitive digestive system with a lot of pain and you need to do a little bit extra to be pain-free, it's worth it. Okay. So I've got 8 cups of buckwheat that I soaked overnight. First, I rinsed it until the water was clear, and then I filled it up with water and allowed it to soak overnight. But normally I soak it for 24 hours. Longer than 24 hours makes it go off. So I wouldn't go longer than 24 hours. But the longer you soak it, the better, because it gets rid of the phytates and the lectins and the enzyme suppressants and all those things that hurt your gut. So that's why I prefer 24 hours. I only soaked this for 12 hours because I didn't have time yesterday to start the soaking in the morning, so I quickly soaked it in the evening. We need to rinse this. The reason why I have 8 cups in here is because that's how much my mother's dehydrator can take, which I'm borrowing for now until I get my own one. This is a fine sieve. I'm just draining the water now. Then I'm going to throw it back in the bucket. Obviously, if you can get glass containers, it's healthier than using plastic, but then you must make sure that it's a strong glass that won't break. Or use 2 smaller ones instead of one large glass bowl. If you do buy 2 smaller glass bowls, if you prefer using glass, besides making sure that it's a strong glass, also make sure that it's large enough so that there's a lot of water. You don't want to soak it in a tiny bit of water because it needs to flush out those phytates and lectins and enzyme suppressants. Again, when you rinse it before you soak it, then you also need to rinse it until the water comes out clear. It doesn't have to be perfectly clear, but just clear. So this is the second rinse. Now, I need to drain it properly before I place it in the dehydrator because it just wastes time and electricity if you don't drain it properly because it's too soggy and it takes longer to dry. So I'm going to drain this really well now. Oh, just checking. I thought it was something like a barley or something. Because yeah, like I mentioned in another video, sometimes you get contaminated grains. So I'm going to just tilt it and make sure there's no water. If there's no water, then it's properly drained. Okay, that one's done. So there's the drained buckwheat, and now I'm going to take it to the dehydrator. So this is what my mother's dehydrator looks like. It's called an Excalibur food hydrator, and I like to dehydrate my grains at 65 degrees there on that setting for 8 hours. So I'm going to set it there. So this is what the trays look like, and it comes with a sheet like this, which is made for, you know, if you want to dehydrate tomatoes, for example, then you would place it on this sheet. Then it also has this grid kind of sheet with holes in it to allow airflow. But because this is my mother's dehydrator, I don't want to damage or stain the proper sheets. So I use baking paper. So there's the buckwheat spread out onto the baking paper. And now I'm going to place it in the dehydrator. And also you can see that I left the edges clean because when it dries out, it's gonna fall everywhere when you collect the buckwheat, but I will show you how I did. First sheet going into the dehydrator, second sheet, third sheet, so it's already on 65 degrees, and now I'm just going to set it on 8 hours. Okay, so the buckwheat has been in the dehydrator for 8 hours since the morning, and then I left it in the dehydrator overnight so that it dries out and cools down properly. And now I'm going to place it in a container, and I always label it because I place my unsoaked buckwheat in the same containers and they look the same. So I like to label them, and I'll just show you how I gather them together that they don't fall all over the place. So here's my little mill that I'm going to use to grind my sprouted dehydrated buckwheat into sprouted buckwheat flour. But you don't need a mill to make the flour. You can just use a blender, but don't add any liquids to it. Just blend it dry like that to make your flour, because buckwheat is a very soft grain. I'm going to show you how easy it is to crush this. You see, so it's not difficult to grind it into a flour. So I've got my flour bucket there.